All right, guys, in this video, I want to give you a super helpful tip when you're reassembling an engine. And that is make sure you bench shift your case halves that are together, your little assembly, before you go assemble the whole motor. Okay, and reason being is you want to find out if there's a problem in your transmission before you start assembling the rest of the engine. Because, hey, I've done it. You assemble the gears backwards or whatever, and then it won't shift. And then you got to pull the motor and take the whole freaking thing apart. So put the case halves together with the crank and the gears, put the shifting components on, bench shift it, and make sure it goes through every gear. Okay, so what I have here is the case halves assembled. Obviously the crank's in, the transmission's in, and then I went ahead and assembled all the shifter components. So you got the ratcheting detent mechanism. Every motorcycle has something that will orient the shift drum in the correct location to align the gears and the shift forks and all that stuff, right? So right now it's in neutral. Okay, so I have, there's always a little bit of drag in the system, so if you just hold this, you can see that this one's not spinning, so it's in neutral. Okay, so the crank spins this way, this guy spins counter, and then this spins clockwise. So when you're shifting, you're also going to want to help, spin the gears. That'll help mesh everything. Okay, so what I always do for every rebuild is I get to this point, case halves together, install the shifter components, and I bench shift it. Okay, I make sure it goes into every gear first, neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth if it applies. And then I make sure everything's cool. If it is not, then no point of proceeding because you have an issue. You got to pull the motor, split the cases, and see what's up with the transmission. And guess what? I've been there. With the CB750 rebuild, I put it all together, I bench shifted it, and something wasn't up. I took it apart, and I noticed that I had one gear on backwards, and it was just an honest mistake. It happens. But at least you can catch it in this phase versus throwing the whole thing together and going, uh-oh, I got to take everything apart, okay? So let's go to the other side. I'll just show you that I have the shifter on. The shifter thing here, you can see how it pops out. And that's because the cover that goes on next has a boss that pushes on here and doesn't allow this to pop out. So during this shifting, usually this guy will want to come out on most models. So just make sure you're aware of that, okay? And then there's a little collar on this one. So just, Okay, on this side, I just have the shifter bolted on. Make sure you tighten this bolt because you don't want to jack up your spline. So make sure when you install it, you tighten it. But we're just going to be shifting this through the gears. Okay, so this is the main shaft. Yeah, I guess you could call it. This is the counter shaft. This is the main shaft. The sprocket attaches to the other side of the engine. But it'll be easier to just look at all this on this side. I put some paint, a paint mark here, so you'll see this guy as we go up in gears. It'll spin faster and faster, right? Okay, so right now it's in neutral, but let me go ahead and shift it, and I'll show you what happens. So I am going to be spinning this clutch shaft, the counter shaft, in this direction, okay? Okay, so that's first gear, and I'm trying to slow the sprocket. See, it's definitely engaged. Okay, so that's first gear. So you can see I'm dragging it here, and it's still spinning. Okay, let's go neutral. Okay, so that's neutral. See, it's not spinning. Second gear. Third, you can see it's really speeding up now. Fourth, and fifth. And it won't go up any higher. Fourth. Okay, neutral. First. Back to neutral. Okay, since we're bench shifting this, you really have to slap down on the shifter pretty hard, up and down, okay? And you also have to spin the shaft so everything meshes. And sometimes you have to put drag on this one while you're spinning this one in order for the gears to slide over and mesh. Okay, we're doing this at a very slow RPM on the bench. It's going to take a little effort, but you want to make sure it grabs every gear and neutral and all that stuff before proceeding with your rebuild. All right, guys, well, that's it for this video. I hope that tip will help you out in your next rebuild.